Hi guys, Mrs. Waymeyer here. We're going to focus on the strategy called box and cluster. This is a multiplication strategy that you can use. I showed you a video where we talked about the 4 different ways, and this one is just going to focus in specifically on box and cluster. I like this strategy. It's probably my favorite because it takes into account place value, and if you know your multiplication facts and how to add those zeros with place values, box and cluster, you could even start working on doing this mentally in your head at some point. But again, completely up to you. Box and cluster, here we go. So because I'm taking 14 times 37, these two numbers are 2-digit numbers, so I need a 2 by 2. I'm going to have 10 and a 4, because 10 plus 4 makes 14. And then off to the right side, you could also put them on the left side, but off to the right side, I'm going to put 30 and 7, because 30 plus 7 makes 37. So I'm not breaking it apart by digit, I'm breaking it apart by place value. Inside each of these boxes is where I'm going to put the product of those two numbers. So for example, I'm taking 4 times 30. When I think about that in my brain, I'm really doing 4 times 3, which is 12, and adding a 0 to get 120. When I take 4 times 7, I get 28. When I take 10 times 30, in my brain, I'm really taking 3 times 1 and adding 2 zeros, because if I take 10 30 times, I'm going to end up with 300. And 7 times 10, this is where they intersect, I get 70. Now this gives me all of my numbers that I need. To get my final answer, I need to add them. So if you are stacking and adding, I would encourage you to line up your place values. Some people, they get good at this and they start adding these two numbers and these two numbers in their head and then taking those two and adding them. Completely, again, up to you and your mathematician skills, but just be careful that you don't make a mistake within your math. So 8 is here. Then 7, 2, and 2 makes 11. So carrying, and 5. So our answer to 14 times 37 is 518. Let's say that I had a 3-digit by a 2-digit number to multiply. This time, I'm going to have 140, and 9 would be how I break that number apart, and 70 and 5 would be how I broke 75 up into its place values. So here's my 3 by 2 box to use for box and cluster. 9 times 7 is 63 with a 0. 9 times 5, 45. 4 times 5 is 20, plus that extra 0. So be careful, because this really is 45 times. No, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong box. 40 times 70, so 4 times 7 is 28 with 2 zeros, so 2,800 in that box. Then over here, 70 times 100, 7 times 1 is 7, and I need 3 zeros, or 7,000, and 5 times 100 is 500. So again, I'm going to stack and add these. I need to be really careful with my place values to make sure that I line up everything correctly to be able to get the correct sum. And I'm going to run into this problem down here, but that's okay. So nothing except for 5, 7, 8 plus 6, those are my biggest, and that's usually what I try to go for. So 14 plus 5 gets me 19. 2 more is 21. Then 7 plus 2 more makes 11. So our final answer ends up being 11,175. The last one, hopefully I left enough room for myself. Sorry, I'm writing kind of large here. I have 572 times 654. So this one's going to require a little bit more space. I'm going to go ahead and hopefully you got that down. Getting erase here because I know I'm going to need some space to add or to draw in my boxes. 572, 600, let's see that, 654. 600 or 6 times 2 is 12 with 2 zeros. And then 7 times 6 is 42, 3 zeros. 6 times 5 is 30, but then please remember you need to add in 4 zeros. So that makes it 300,000. 50 times 2 is 100. 5 times 7 is 35 with 2 zeros. 5 times 5 is 25 with 3 zeros. 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times 7, 28 with a 0, 280. And 4 times 5, 20. And then don't forget to add those last 2 zeros. So because I have a lot of numbers here, I'm going to try and group them a little bit better together to try and help my math out a little bit. But again, you want to make sure that your place values are lined up, that everything is where it needs to be so that you can get the correct answer. But because I'm going to be a good example for you, I'm going to hopefully, well, I'm writing too big. Sorry about that. 42,000, 1,200, 25,000, 3,500, 100, 2,000, 280, and 8. So I have an 8. Then I have, going down, I have an 8. 2 plus 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Carry my 1 just like I normally would. Then looking at these place values in the thousands place, 3, 4. 4 plus 5 makes 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Again, I have to be careful that I'm lining them up. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 3. So, sorry that's so sloppy. $374,088 is our final answer to this problem. Again, this strategy I really like because it takes into account your mental strategies, your place values. However, you can tell that this takes up a lot of space. So if this is a strategy that you start working with and you really get the hang of, I would encourage you to start using partial products and start doing some of these numbers in your head. That way you don't have to take up as much space on your paper to write it all out visually. But of course, this is a great place to start. So again, this is box and cluster, a way to multiply numbers together, a strategy you could choose to use if it works for you. Thanks for watching.